evening, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Jane's DC on this beautiful Monday, coming to you live from your nation's capital in Washington, DC. Well, it's been a beautiful weekend. Hope everyone had a great, relaxing time. We had unusually warm weather. It was really nice. And I myself came back from Twitter jail on Friday night, and we'll talk a little bit about that. First, I wanted to mention that I have two amazing guests tonight. You're really going to enjoy tonight's show. First, we have an old friend of the DC MAGA movement, Mike Wojtaszek, and we have Benghazi hero Kris Paronto. So I'm really excited to talk to both gentlemen. There's going to be a lot that we cover tonight. But first, I wanted to share with you some of the week's happenings. As I mentioned, yours truly was suspended from Twitter. I was suspended in the fall for 12 hours for making a negative comment about Her Royal Highness Ilhan Omar, and probably Rashida Tlaib as well. But I guess Twitter gets more and more punishing as time goes on, because the second time, my second offense, garnered me a 7-day suspension. And I have to tell you, it was really painful when you can't speak. And after, even though there were a bunch of wonderful followers, fellow patriots who were wonderful, who supported me, who kept trying to get the word out and just let people know, you'd be surprised. After about 4 or 5 days, people kind of forget that you're there. And losing your political voice is really, it's serious. And I also learned today that Twitter suspended a website called 45 Schedule, 45 Schedule, which was putting out every day nothing more than the official schedule of President Trump. And just outrageous. And so what they're doing is they're just systematically, banning people, shutting down conservative voices, any voices that support the president, even from an administrative standpoint, like his schedule. But you can see the danger of that, because if all of us are unable to get that basic kind of information, there's going to be confusion, there's going to be misinformation, and this is what the left wants. It's really frustrating to me and just so sad that the left controls almost 100% of the media. Hopefully not for long. I have this parallel universe fantasy that when President Trump is out of office after his second term, or maybe his third, whatever, you never know, there could be a technicality, that he will actually do something really innovative and creative, or maybe somebody in his family will. So what else? James O'Keefe says that he's got a bombshell waiting to drop. And it was interesting that he mentioned it really on top of a tweet by President Trump regarding Bernie Sanders and how Bernie was rising in the polls, and it was interesting. So you never know. James, my guess, if I had to guess, if I was a betting woman, my guess would be that James O'Keefe has maybe a tape, video or audio of people in the DNC plotting Bernie's, screw job again, number 2.0 for the 2020, because they're going to throw him under the bus. But I think it's great. I hope he stays at the top of the polls on the Democrat side. Can't wait to see the debate tomorrow night. Going to have to tape it because there's a DC MAGA meetup, which we're going to talk about with Mike W. I hope he stays at the top. I hope Bernie stays at the top, because that's really the best illustration of what the 2020 election is about, and not just at the presidential level, at all levels, state governorships, the House of Representatives, state houses and senates. It is, like somebody said on Twitter today, America first or America last. Which do you want to choose? America First with the president's agenda, or America Last with the communist, Democrat, socialists? Okay, another thing I wanted to let you know about that Tucker Carlson covered, but I think it's worth repeating, is that there is a list circulating of 17 Republican governors who are, okay, I hope you're sitting down, they're requesting of the federal government to have refugees settled in their states, either without the consent of their citizenry or against the will of their citizenry. Why, you might ask? A wise person once told me, when you're trying to figure something out, it usually has something to do with money. So my guess is that these 17 Republican GOP sellouts, parentheses, most likely rhinos, are looking to get money in exchange for those refugees while putting the cost of their welfare, meaning their housing, their food, their health care, on the backs of their citizenry, their unknowing citizenry. So let me just take a moment, because I think it's worth it. We have over 200,000 viewers on the eNet channel. And so many of you are not just from what we call the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So let me read you a list of these. It's Reynolds of Iowa. So if you hear your state and your governor, you better call in tomorrow and, okay, tell him no go, or her. Ducey of Arizona. Stitt of Oklahoma. Lee of Tennessee of all places. Burgum of North Dakota. Noam of South Dakota. Sununu, hard to believe, of New Hampshire. Herbert of Utah. Ricketts of Nebraska, sorry, had to remember my abbreviations. Justice of West Virginia. I mean, West Virginia, really? Holcomb of Indiana, Scott of Vermont, Baker of Massachusetts, DeWine of Ohio, not hard to believe, Hutchinson of Arkansas, Parsons of Missouri, Little of Idaho, and Hogan, that phony Republican who's really a Democrat, of Maryland, we've got here in our backyard. It's crazy. I mean, it's really ridiculous that, you know, these governors, and they're Republicans, they understand the problems. I don't get it. The last thing I want to mention is, look, I don't usually get into a lot of gossipy stuff, especially gossip outside of politics, but this Meghan Markle and Prince Harry thing about, you know, escaping the royals, I just want to make you aware of something. By the way, they're staying at a friend of the Clintons, and they're being advised by the Obamas. Oh, yay, that'll go well. Just want you to understand something about the royal family. They're not English. They're German. And one of the uncles from a couple of generations ago stole the monarchy from their English cousins. And the name Windsor is fake. Okay, so I wanted to get that out. Very exciting. I love getting that out. Listen, I can see that our first guest is here. So I'm going to start just a few seconds early and introduce him to you. Originally from Boston, Massachusetts, co-founder and current head of DC MAGA, and we're going to talk about what that is and what that means. A political consultant. He is one of the best networking leaders in DC, bringing admin officials, military icons, and political candidates together with the DC MAGA membership, the Make America Great Again membership. You'll find him making political magic on the second Tuesday of every month at the Trump International Hotel. I want to welcome, full disclosure, my friend and political cooperative, Mike Wojtaszek. Mike.
How you doing, Jane? Thank you for having me.
Doing great, my friend. Welcome to the show. I should have said affectionately known by all as Mike W., for those who can't, as well as I did, express your name. How are you?
That was actually, you did a really great job. That was awesome.
That's okay. You can pay me later. Just kidding.
I know.
Just kidding.
I I got $20 for it. I got you.
Mike, I'm so glad you're on the show because I want people to have a better understanding of what you lead in DC. So first of all, let's get into a little bit of history. And, I'll start somewhat because, as you and I both know, originally right after the president was inaugurated, a couple of old friends who are in the sort of social media, MAGA movement with us asked me to help them start the meeting. It was a cold February night, and it was snowing, and there were only 4 of us. But that 4 grew, right? So
Yep.
tell the folks who are watching a little bit about that history, how you came to join us, because I actually really don't know.
Wow, I don't know. So, it was funny because I guess hard to name names, right? But I think it was a while. I think around this, I guess towards the tail end. It was funny because I had never. I hated politics, honestly. I hate to say that.
Good luck.
But it was, yeah, I know, right? But it was just one of those things where it was something where I said, I saw the way that the supporters of the other side were treated. Just on social media and like everywhere you turned, everywhere you looked, it was just negative. It was this, and the thing is that in when I was coming along, I'd always been sort of independent minded. I always leaned right. I told you this, you knew this. So I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, there's something about this guy. There's something about him, Donald. I like this guy, but then the more I kept seeing the vitriol and the hatred, and I was just like, you know what? It's like something just I was so angry, and I kept saying, I was like, there's something that we can do, here, and I knew, like, okay, DC, liberal capital of the world, God knows. I mean, everybody knows this, but then, and then I said, it's not the Midwest, certainly isn't, the pocket where, we're going to thrive. But I was like, what can we do? So what ended up happening is I got in a hold of, I guess, a friend of ours who's a friend of somebody else's. They happened to be like, they were like, dude, you have, what you got to do, you got to come up with a way to kind of bring all these people together. And the guy, Jeff, but we'll just leave him with the first name. And so he had this idea, and he was like, so he put together a list of all these people, and I was on it, and you were on it, and all these other different people. And then before you know it, it just so happened that it kind of sprung. I know that, Jeff and I and you, they were talking about it for a month, right? A month and a half, 2 months, whatever. Finally, like I said, in that February night, it got off the ground. And again, 4 people. And I think the following month was like 8.
And what's the number of your list now? What has it grown to?
Oh God. We're like over 679 people.
Wow. Wow.
So, and again, a lot to your credit and to the other people, some of who are no longer part of this whole thing. But
sure,
it just shows that like there were what my mistake was is I said, how many people? Because the joke was, how many people in this area actually support? Because this is such a liberal, just an infested town.
Yeah, DC is so liberal.
But there were so many, and people were like, thank you for giving an outlet to, for us to come together and to meet. And then how it ended up going. It just like one thing leads to another, then admin people come aboard. What are you guys doing? What is this all about? What is this all about? Then, another person comes along. Well, what do you got? And then before you know it, everybody
to your credit,
it was just happened.
To your credit, you actually grew the membership to that huge number.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted you to talk a little bit about what is the significance of the Trump Hotel as the venue? Because, one of the things that came out of this that you helped to grow was that other cities in the United States started their MAGA meetups.
Yeah.
And we encouraged them, or you did, to start it in a Trump hotel where people feel safe. Talk about the venue.
Yeah, I think, well, and you, as you recall, there was one, I think you had an issue in one of our little friendly VA towns, we could say Arlington, right? So I remember,
the swamp of the swamp.
Right, but, nothing could happen in there, right? If you recall correctly, it was like, what are you guys doing here? Why? You can't be here. You can't do this. I was like, oh my God. That's when it occurred to me. I was like, they won't even let you meet and talk about anything. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, you like really, really, really kidding? I mean, my God. So then it just sort of became that hotel became the hotbed,
the safe space,
The same space, right? And then as it turns out, it just so many people would meet there, right? Cabinet people, admin people, and then before you know it, like you said, that's how everything grew. And you talk to one person, they introduce you to somebody else, they introduce you to somebody else, you go to somebody else, you go to somebody else, and everything starts filtering back and forth. And before you know it, you get this powerful group. And if you recall, the plan before was they had said, oh, we're going to do them all over the country, right? We're going to make this big thing, and it was a grandiose plan at the time. But look what happened, right? Chicago, Vegas,
we have a
New
few
York,
cities.
LA,
Texas,
and
down in Texas.
Dallas.
It's exciting.
So things kind of move pretty quickly, and these people are doing really, really great, autonomously. Every once in a while I'll check in with the people, but everybody, the encouraging thing is just do your own thing, be yourself, run things the way you're supposed to do it. There's no method to the bad, you know what I mean? But the whole
go with
idea
the flow.
is to get people. And like you had mentioned before, it's not only to get people talking and get people to feel safe and to be, I hate that word, but it's what it is. But
it pretty much was in the beginning.
It is, yeah, but you want to get people to branch out. You want them to network. You want them to engage. You want them to, hey, how can I help this person? What can I do? And that's what we've done. And all these people start hitting the ground running because everything is grassroots. This whole thing is built on grass. So that's,
it sure is.
Awesome.
And Mike, I wanted to also, have you talk a little bit about, it's not just a cocktail hour. You've actually inspired things like rallies where there's been lots, because that networking allows you, and that mailing list of 600 or so. And by the way, don't ever give that away. If anybody wants it, they have to pay for a one-time use. I'm being Mike's agent now. Don't give that away, my friend. That's worth gold. But you've organized and you've helped others organize. Talk about that, like rallies, special events, candidates. Yeah.
So it's funny because that's how it sort of maturated, right? So it was sort of a thing where I can't remember what one of the candidates came in and said, what do you guys do here? And I was like, well, this is what we're doing. He's like, well, do you mind if I come in and speak? And I remember telling you, and you're like, you know what? That isn't a half bad idea. That's something different. And then that became our thing, right? For the longest time, all these small candidates that were on our side of the fence in terms of the issues and everything like that, we were giving them a forum. And then people were filming it, putting it on Periscope. You would Periscope it. You would put it live. Everything instantly goes out Twitter. And before you know it, that's how people from across the country go, hey, man, what was this? Well, I'm coming in from Kentucky, and I want to do this. Can I do this? Yeah, man, come on. What are you going to do this? Tuesday night, come on in. And then that's how it was. So we had people from, like I said, Kentucky, New Mexico, Texas, and all these different spots. Like, what can I do? How can I contribute? Where can I go? And it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And even just then, I literally last night, somebody had I had lost touch with for about 3 months, hit me up. He's like, dude, I'm in town. I've got a new idea. And I was like, man, let's go. That's it. Like, keep it. And now's the best time. I mean, God knows.
Yeah. I mean, remember that time that there was a rally that a lot of our, new media, and I mean, we could mention in a positive sense, we could mention, people like Cernovich and Lucian Wintrich and Jack Posobiec. In the old days, the early days, they did a great job of creating these rallies and we had one down by the White House one day, and then that white supremacist Richard Spencer got hold of the idea, and he tried to do one next to us to make us look like we were white supremacists, and we moved it away from. It was just craziness. Craziness.
So bad.
Those are the days.
Yeah, I remember that. I know, right? What was funny because look how pitchfork and shovel that whole thing was, right? Like everything was like in the middle of like a tiny little park, and everybody just started like, we got like 28 people, then we have 100, and now you see what happens when things start getting more mobilized and the wheels hit the ground and these people start getting engaged and all this, and this is why you have these bigger things. And to your credit, and my folks and all that, this is where we are. I mean, look at your show and just all the different things.
Yeah, we've all branched out. But you've created
in good ways, by the way.
Pardon?
In good ways, people have branched out. For the most part, not everybody, but for the most part.
You've done a great job of keeping it healthy, keeping it going, so that these kinds of things can spring up. Like people have thought of running for office. People have done things like me with this show, and other people have done publications. But I wanted to talk to you. We only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk a little bit without names. let's talk about the dark side of MAGA, because this is Dr. Jane's DC. I'm like Jesse Waters, okay? I'm Dr. Jane, and this is my DC. So, some negativity came out, and I want to throw out a couple of examples, and then you can talk about it from the generic standpoint.
Sure.
We've had lefties that claim they turned right, who actually are now functioning again as lefties. We've had conservatives taking huge hits on social media, especially because they're involved and organized with MAGA meetups. And we've had some MAGA people that supposedly were good conservatives that are attacking other conservatives. Say a few words about that, and it's not all roses and puppies.
No, and I think you know this too. I think the dark side of everything is, and it might happen in other groups too. I don't I can't speak for the left. I can't speak for that, but I can say for us is, why would you, if we are already under fire, right, by everybody? Yeah. Why would you attack your own people? Why would you continue to stoke the flames of your own folks? Now I get it. Now there's certain people that are being called out for very good reason, right? Anti-Semitic comments, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things, right, that you should be called out for, right? Mm-hmm. But then there are other things that people are raked through on, and just makes you scratch your head. And this is the problem. I think the term grifter, right? Grifter, groyper. We have lots of
grifters. People making brands and making money on their own and claiming it's for the president.
But the thing is this is the negative spin when you have somebody in office who's a businessman, and everybody's latching behind going, well, I want to make money. I want to cash in on this train too. But I can't, for you, it's a good point. For me, there's a lot, but for you, for me, there's a lot of people out there that do this for nothing or very little, right? At least just operating costs just to get by.
It's a labor of love.
They do it because it's the right thing to do. And but again, I think you're always going to have that sort of issue. But the thing that the other side doesn't do that we do is we air our dirty laundry, right? People fight, they do it online. It's awful. And this is and all this stuff leaks out. No, it's not. And unfortunately around here, you can't turn your back and somebody's talking. You can literally walk around the corner and somebody's.
It's DC.
It's just.
Hey, say a few words about what are your thoughts for 2020 and what ideas do you have with MAGA, DC MAGA meetup and the crew and this great networking you've created and perpetuated. What's up for 2020?
So the vision that I had is kind of do this thing, obviously, grow other places, put it in other cities, move things, make it bigger, right? Bigger, better, right? That's always the best thing to do. But a lot of what I wanted to do is to put on real events, but put them in different cities, right? Drop one in Florida in a battleground state, drop one. I got met some wonderful people. We did this thing in Miami. That went okay. I mean, you know this. There's some issues with that, but met some.
I won't promote it, but I understand where you're going. You made some new connections.
Right, and these people out in Hollywood are doing big things, but what is it? Hollywood is the underbelly, but there are actually people out there that are looking for something like this. We're going to hook up in April, and we're going to get something going in Los Angeles. So this is what I'm talking about. So these are the things that I think you need to do it now, because November is around the corner, and we have a very, very short window of time. And so we're going to keep pushing these things out. Like I said, April, May, want to pop some stuff in June. Just want to keep the train rolling. I mean, that's what we have to
Mike, do. Where can people find you? I did mention at the beginning of your interview that you're at the second Tuesday of every month at the Trump International Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, 6:30 to whatever. Where can people reach you if they want to tap you for some ideas and starting their own groups and things like that?
Sure. So obviously on Twitter, at MAGA Meetups, that's right there. That's the biggest point. Send anything, drop a DM, do that. You can hit me up on my personal email. Not a big deal. People do it all the time. It's literally just very simple. Brady, it's a giveaway as to what my real affiliation for a team is, but it's Brady1263. And it's a terrible story, right, for this year. At msn.com. So like I said, usually email, DM, and I'll get back to you right away and help you. I'm helping somebody right now build something just because they just decided it was time to do something out in Oklahoma City. So go figure. Why not? Good
Wow.
op-ed,
Okay.
the country. So yeah. So this
So
is what I do.
repeat it one more time. The email
Yeah,
for
Brady
people.
BRADY1263 at msn.com. Hit me up, say
Okay.
hi, and let's go. Let's do it.
That sounds good, Mike. Well, I think it'd be great if you would come back, like once, a quarter, every other month for this election year. Give us an
Like a
update.
State of the Union.
Let's get a State of the Union. Maybe these people that are watching and that you're working with now who are starting their own groups, maybe they'll let you know how they're doing, and you can give us an update on that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and it gives other
That'd be great.
people, ideas on what they can do in their cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what's our goal? Crush communism.
Crush, absolutely. There's a lot of things to crush. That's just one of them. Well, we have a nice laundry list, but what the good thing, Jane, is too is like we're in the right time here because it's come up in February, right? Our big old party that we always have around here. So you and I are going to be very busy coming up. We got a couple months here that's going to be pretty intense. So this is good. This is a good time though to kind of get things moving. Yeah, this is a really good time.
CPAC in a few weeks and well, more than like about a month. But I want you to come back. I'm going to be broadcasting at CPAC. I've mentioned that on the show before. Thursday and Friday nights, 6 to 9 p.m. So I want you to stop by. We'll put you in a slot, and you can update everybody there. That'd be a great update.
Better believe it. Yeah, it was fun last year. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, all right, my friend. We will thank you for being here tonight. Love catching up with you on this stuff. I know people find it interesting.
No, it is cool, and like I said, what you do is important. What a lot of these people do is important. I think a lot of times, what I didn't say before is it gets lost in this whole shuffle that you see on Twitter all the time. That's not even the real deal of it. The real deal of it is the people that grind behind the scenes and that are really, really trying to make a difference. And those are the people that we need to get out there. And hopefully you and I can help, in some small way do that. So.
That's a great way to look at it. And that's why you keep this thing going, because you've got such a great attitude about it. So thanks, Mike. Thanks for everything you do.
Alrighty.
We'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'll see you
later. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jane Ruby in Washington, D.C., author of A Sea of New Media. I wanted to tell you a little bit about this book because I was inspired to write it by Andrew Breitbart, who actually vindicated the Tea Party after they were falsely accused of calling 3 African-American congressional leaders the N-word, and nobody could come up with a video or an audio. So he told them weeks later, and on the National Mall, to hold up their cell phones, and thousands of people held up their cell phones, and you could see this beautiful in the night, and he said, there you have a sea of new media to capture the lies. Folks, we can't trust our mainstream media. We cannot trust our press.
When you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people.
When President Trump says they're the enemy of the people, he's not being a dictator. He's telling the truth. They won't tell us the truth. But if we all have our cameras out in public, they can't lie if thousands of us are showing a video of something happening or not happening. So I encourage you to pick up a copy of the book. It's called A Sea of New Media. And if you think you can't make a difference, think about the guy who caught Hillary Clinton on tape. The average citizen caught Hillary Clinton being dragged into the van at the 9/11 memorial in 2016. We never would have known she was ill if it wasn't for that single individual citizen. Pick up a copy of A Sea of New Media on Amazon, and if you happen to see me around DC, I'll be happy to sign the book for you and give you a big hug. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I have a show in DC called Dr. Jane's DC, Tuesday and Thursday nights on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Please join me again. I'm Dr. Jane Ruby. See you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Dr. Jane's DC in the second half hour. And we had a great time with Mike W. from DC MAGA Meetup. He's just got great energy. He's done a wonderful job with the show. And we are coming up on our next guest. I see that he's ready, so I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to give him a little introduction because I'm so excited that he's here tonight. Let me just tell you all, my next guest is Kris Paronto, or Tonto as he is affectionately known in security contracting circles. He's a former Army Ranger, as many of you may know, 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, and a private security contractor who's deployed all over the world. And many of you probably know, if not all of you, and if you don't, you should. Kris was part of the CIA Annex security team that responded to the terrorist attack on the U.S. Special Mission in Benghazi, Libya, September 11th, 2012, helping to save over 20 lives while fighting off terrorists from the Annex for over 13 hours. His story is told in the book 13 Hours, written by Mitchell Zuckoff, and his 5 surviving security team members. Kris, I want to tell you, welcome to the show tonight.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is a neat little contraption. I need to start doing this for my podcast. I like
Isn't this great? You could do your own from this. We'll talk after the show. I'll give you all the tips.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Listen, it's such an honor to have you. I have been looking forward to talking to you, meeting you hopefully someday. Without you guys on that night, there would have been a massacre of Americans. You first told the story, as I recall, with your buddies John Teagan and Mark Geist, and it started to come out on social media. Tell folks who maybe don't know a lot of the details a little bit about the story and how you guys came to be able to tell it in this atmosphere of, mainstream media that blocks everything.
Yeah. I still believe there's paths for everything, and if there's a reason for something to come out, it's going to happen, regardless of what man-made obstacles are in front of you, as long as you persevere. But what happened in Libya with the attack, and we had Ambassador Chris Stevens, who passed away that evening, plus 2 of my teammates, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, plus also Sean Smith. Basically, it was a lack of security. It was a 9/11, 2012. And the attack by Ansar al-Sharia and al-Qaeda in the Maghreb resulted in the deaths due to an undermanned U.S. State Department facility there in Benghazi, Libya. Now, for people that don't know the story, if they watch 13 Hours, I believe Michael Bay did a fantastic job retelling the story in that media facet. Also, if you want to read the book 13 Hours, of course, we wrote it along with Mitchell Zuckoff. You're going to see everything that took place that night, or you're going to read about it and you're going to understand it. But both are excellent portrayals. Of course, the book is spot on. You're going to see that we were with the CIA at the time, and we were told not to go, and we did regardless. And that's a testament to my teammates. I don't think I would have gone if it wasn't for them. Their bravery, showed me the way. And I always say when I do speeches, because I do a lot of public speaking about motivation, extraordinary acts of courage, and again, not from me, but from those around me. That courage also, can breed to other courage, and their courage basically led to me being courageous that night. I'm not crazy. My wife and my kids will tell you, hey, he's not crazy at all. He run from a mouse on the floor. but that night, and it was the right thing to do. That's
and I want people to know, we're going to talk about your most current book, which is called The Patriot's Creed, in a little bit. But you've also written 2 other books about bravery and courage and living a great life. I want to mention them. Well, the first one is part 13 Hours, the inside account of what really happened, which led to the movie, and then The Ranger Way, living the code on and off the battlefield. But Kris, I want to ask you something, because I've been angry since 2012 for you all. At the end of the movie, and I'm going to spoil it for people, sure. I realized that the whole time you guys were struggling and suffering, there was a live drone feed back here to Washington.
Yeah, I mean that feed. Yeah, that feed started around 11:45 Benghazi time. I was angry for many years as well. I've let that anger go. Not that I don't feel there's still responsibility for it. There's still that people that need to be held accountable in D.C. Under that past administration and also the former
Yes.
Secretary of State. But being angry all the time made me an angry person, and it clouded a lot of the judgment that I had. So I still think there needs to be accountability, but being able to eloquently speak about that night and not just in anger anymore has helped me get it out to more people. And people do
Okay.
see, wait a second, this isn't a political. This shouldn't be portrayed as a left or right incident. This was just an incident where military and contractors and government people working for the government were left behind by their own government, regardless of what political side you're on, and
Yes.
that's where people needs to see it. And I think I do think though, initially taking that hard road, which I believe was the right way to do it initially. You learn as you go. Taking that hard road and being partisan took people away from the story that should have seen it, that are now starting to see
Ah,
it, which is still good. It's great. It's a marathon. I always tell guys it's a marathon. Just keep plugging away, keep grinding, and people will come around to see it. But also I've changed the way I've looked at that night, because I think it was one of the greatest nights of my life. I had amazing. I had fun. I'll just say point blank, I had fun.
that's a little
And
crazy,
also, yeah, this is different.
but I get it.
Also,
You're a
I've been doing the
soldier.
job for a lot of years. Well, and I've been doing it for a while. I've been doing it for deploying for 10 years before Benghazi even happened. So I don't think that's a coincidence that it took place later in my career when I could handle a situation like that. And that says for the other guys too. They had been doing it for a while. We had a very senior team there, and that again, I don't think was a coincidence. It was necessary.
Wow.
Younger days, I might have acted different. So, but that's how I've
Wow.
changed in my way of thinking, and over the last 3 to 4 years. But yes, there definitely needs to be some accountability within DC, and I've not seen it yet.
Chris, with all of the technology that we have as a country, why wasn't there a heads up? Why wasn't there more advance notice to keep you all safe and get you out of there?
Well, I can't give you 100% answer because I don't know. I can
Mm,
speculate on and give you a higher variabilities or higher percentage of what I think took place. But there's a couple things that come to mind. First of all, um, we shouldn't even have been there. So I do think, and being a political year, being that was leading up
I
to the
see.
election with Mitt Romney, I do think that would have been a black eye to the to the past administration, and I
Hmm.
do think if the truth would have come out then, I think President Obama probably would have lost, to be honest with you,
Mm,
and we shouldn't have been there. We weren't there to overthrow Gaddafi. The country was in more, they were in better shape with Gaddafi by far. We turned that Libya into a failed state, and that was because we wanted to utilize that to overthrow Syria and overthrow that regime there, which is a mistake, as people can see now. Again, you just can't go overthrow dictators and expect that vacuum of power not to be filled by terrorists. That's what
right.
happens. Yeah. So,
Right.
but the other thing too is that, yeah, so that you come back to it. Well, sometimes I do, and I do feel in my heart, yeah, I think they left us there to die, just to cover up what was going on. And that was an ambassador. That wasn't some dilettante. This guy, if you want to give him a
Right.
ranking, he's a 3-star general. He's a vice president. That ranking. He's the highest guy in the State Department representing Libya, and I've worked for the State Department. Ambassador Stevens was a high level ambassador, and that was huge for them for him to get killed that night, and then
Well,
that's ushering the terrorists to
that's what
chuck that.
I read a lot about too. And my question to you on that was there ever any evidence that Ambassador Stevens was targeted either by some entity back here or over in the Middle East? I
I
mean,
do think just by him being killed that night, yeah, he was targeted. He was a high value target. HVT, they did the same thing that we would have done if we they had if look at what went on in Iran right now. Soleimani, he got hit by
yes.
us. He was a high value target. He was available. There was the chance to get him, so we got him. Same with Bin Laden. Ambassador Stevens, if you want to look at from their point of view, hey, that's a Soleimani. That's a guy that we
I
could go hit
see.
and make a statement. Now, could they have got him? I think initially, though, they were trying to kidnap him. And again, we're doing, and the reason I'm saying that is just by the tactics they used to
Sure.
try to get into the State Department compound, because they could have really just gone in there and just obliterated them all like that, and they
I
really
see.
didn't. They went in there to secure it, and then they did what they could to try to get him and get him and kidnap him. And then when that failed, just trying to kidnap an American. When that failed, that's when they came in with the mortars, and they did what they could have done right at the beginning, and that was just hit us with something we could defend, and that's when we lost it.
Yeah.
That's when we lost Tyrone and Glenn. So yeah, I do think that's why I do believe, again, it was a coordinated attack. It was tactically sound what they did with the means they had and with the training they had. But I think initially, yes, he was targeted, and he was targeted as a kidnapping, and it just turned out that they couldn't get him, and he was killed. He was died of smoke inhalation.
Are you able to say who Jack Silva is, that played by John Krasinski, one of my favorites? And why is it kept so secret?
Because his wife will kill me. His wife, Jack is awesome, but he likes the low profile. His wife,
Okay.
that is a personal family issue. That's not a government
Okay.
conspiracy thing. No, that's completely Jack's wife. Jack, you think the team's tough? Jack's wife is tougher than all of us. She will come and she will hunt me down and she will beat me.
Okay, well, it's a good answer.
And I talked.
Yeah.
I talked to him a couple of weeks ago too, and he's still doing extremely well. He's awesome, and he does look like John Krasinski. So if you want, when you picture him, he does resemble Krasinski.
Wow.
And he's the greatest guy in the world. He's a tremendous human being. I hope one day he'll come out and people will see who he is, and if you do, you're going to fall in love with him. He's the boy next door. But no,
Yeah.
that's a wife decision there, not a government decision, which is a lot more important.
Well, I will tell him that he's just as loved as the rest of you, and revered as a hero. The thing about the Benghazi hearings was it's kind of gone to the back burner. I think everything you're doing and maybe some of the other guys to keep the story alive will bring back some hearings, because I was particularly disappointed that we had all these hearings but no indictments, no criminal referrals, and clearly, I don't want to get into the names, but with Hillary and Obama that night, somebody at some point should be accountable.
Well, you had Valerie Jarrett, you had Susan Rice, you had also
Sure.
Patrick Kennedy, who was an undersecretary. If people can search him, a lot of them don't know his name. Charlene Lamb, another one of Hillary's little minions there that were responsible. I think Trey Gowdy's report was enough to have an indictment, but we didn't have an attorney general to go ahead and do that. And you're right, it needs. And I said this when I was asked recently, compare the two attacks between Benghazi and what happened in Baghdad recently. And Baghdad wasn't an attack. That was a riot where they actually did get on the compound, where Benghazi was an attack. I said, you can't compare the two. They're different. I said, but if conservative PACs want to invoke Benghazi, this is what needs to happen. They need to do what you said, find an indictment. They need to find some indictment and start indicting those within D.C. that were responsible that night, because the report that Trey Gowdy did could do that if they were willing to take it farther. Also, give those that passed away, Ambassador Stevens, Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, Glenn Doherty, the heroes, get them the Presidential Meritorious Service Award, the highest award you can have as a civilian. And then also reinstate our security clearances that were suspended after we told the truth. But I do agree. I do agree that yes, there definitely does need to be indictments, and there is enough information out there to do that. But an attorney general and a current administration needs to do that, and at this point they haven't, and that's all political. That's just that house of cards in D.C. Everybody has dirt on somebody else, and nobody's willing to fall on that metaphorical grenade to go ahead and sacrifice their careers to get the truth out. And
that's so well said.
Integrity.
Yeah, that's so well said. And I do hope that President Trump will give them their medals posthumously. And I think that if he gets reelected, he'll come off the chain in the sense that he might get a little more active attorney general, because I don't think he's been successful that far. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, we haven't had Sessions could have done it, and I thought Jeff was going to do it, and then the current attorney general Barr. I just don't think it's an issue for him right now, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why it wouldn't be. I know that the story of Benghazi and us coming out did help influence, even whether we meant to do it or not, did help influence the election. Whether the Conservative Party, whether the Republican Party likes to admit that or not, it did. So, and it's the right thing to do. I mean, if they want to look at it the politics side, well, yeah, you're going to get votes by doing it. If that's what you're looking to do it for, which I don't agree with, but hey, if it
Yeah.
gets them the awards, then, but it's the right thing to do. How
Yeah.
hard is that? If it's the right thing to do, you do it
Yeah.
regardless.
I wanted to ask you if you've met with President Trump personally.
No.
Oh,
I have
I
not.
want you guys to. Okay.
Well, I haven't, but Tig and Oz have. And actually, I
Okay.
did speak at one of his last rallies. I don't always agree with President Trump, and I've been vocal about that on things.
Okay.
I didn't agree with and that's the beauty of this country.
Yep.
I didn't agree with him releasing, with giving pardons to Gallagher and there was a major, I can't pronounce his last name, the SF major, and also his name Lawrence. Because I did feel that siding with one guy and then not siding with other veterans, you're really creating you're really creating some abrasion there within the veteran community. And also, I've been in those similar situations as those guys, and those were crimes, and it was something he shouldn't have done. And I think he just got bad advice, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because if he was going to do that, then you should also pardon the Blackwater, the Raven 23 guys, some of those guys are still in federal prison for basically
Yeah.
fighting back in East Square, Baghdad. But again, that being said, I do believe his heart's in the right place. And I wish he'd get off Twitter. I don't like the Twitter. I'm tired of that. I'm done.
You were banned, right? Were you banned?
I was, but then I just got off it. I was initially. They reinstated me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this Twitter. I do Facebook and Instagram, and I've got my own podcast now, Battle Line
Right.
Podcast. I got a lot of things going.
Yeah.
So, but I hope President Trump really does do the right thing, and I don't care about me. You don't have to do anything for me. Just take care of those guys and get them honored. They gave the ultimate sacrifice, and I fought alongside Tyrone that whole night. I saw what he did. That is, I mean, if it was in the service, that's Medal of Honor. If he was still in the SEAL team, being a contractor, his actions merit that medal above and beyond more than the majority of people that have gotten that presidential medal. So I agree, and I hope he does too. I really does hope he takes this seriously.
You guys said that the movie was, as close as you could make it to the truth, and for people who haven't seen it, you must see it because it's incredible. Kris, in the little time we have left, I don't want to, say goodnight to you without covering a couple of things. One is your latest book, because I'm going to ask you, the book, The Patriot's Creed, Inspiration and Advice for a Hero's Life, and coming after the Ranger Way, are you feeling there's a need to motivate and up the morale of your comrades and your brothers?
Well, I think just society itself. I think and I've seen it being out there and seeing even in my town of Grand Junction, Colorado, my hometown, the teenagers, the suicide rate is so high with teenagers that people just don't know how to fail anymore. We became such a politically correct, everybody gets a trophy society that when you fail and fall down, they quit and literally quit on yourselves. And both books are about failing, especially the Ranger Way, failing, but picking yourself up and moving on and overcoming whatever that failure was, or overcoming obstacles, overcoming adversity. And the Ranger Way, specifically about me, the Patriot's Creed, actually, I brought in other veterans to talk about their stories. And one of them has alcoholism, how he came over being an alcoholic, became an Army Ranger. One who actually had his leg almost blown off by an IED, and how he's moved on past that and has succeeded as a civilian. So it's just lessons learned really about how to fail, but also how do you learn from that failure and then move on and become successful after, and always having that good attitude, and you just never give up. And that's what I saw, and I thought there was a need to that. Hey, because you see it, that everybody gets a trophy. I didn't always get a trophy. I lost sometimes, and I learned from those losses and became stronger because I knew what I had to do to improve. And that's what we're missing, I do believe, in today's societies. Hence why I wrote both books, which was to instill some of that never quit that I grew up with, and saying that you can fail and you can still succeed down the road.
Yeah, that's great, Kris. I read the book over the weekend, and there's so many great pockets of stories. Yeah, thank you for that. It was very well done. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, and I wanted you to be able to talk about so people could help you, is the foundation you created called and I love it, it's called the 14th Hour. It's like, what happens after I get out of this battle? Talk about the 14th Hour Foundation.
Well, I when I first started going out and I speaking and doing some speaking events, and I did for a lot of foundations, and I saw there are some good foundations out there. The Lead the Way Fund, you've got the Navy SEAL Foundation, you got Bub's Foundation out there, Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation, but all of them were pigeonholing to one group, which is fine, but. Lead the Way was just for Rangers. The SEAL Foundation was just for SEALs. Buzz Foundation was just for scholarships for SEALs or Navy personnel. And I wanted to say, we're all in this fight. Let's do something that encompasses everything. And there wasn't much out there for contractors, if any. And I said, let's do something where we have law enforcement, first responders, contractors, veterans. And that's where I said, well, let's do 14th Hour because, again, yeah, you're right. And 14th Hour is when the need was because it's after. And I parlayed that off the 13 hours. But I made it to help everyone out there, and it didn't matter if it was a phone bill or it didn't matter if you had a rent car, it didn't matter if it was scholarship, and we've been able to help. And I'm spitballing here because my wife does a lot of the finances in it, but we've probably helped 50 grand. I would say close between $40,000 to $50,000 worth of grants to give out to law enforcement. One specific was his son needed to go to a special needs school, a New York City police officer, so we got him. And I want to say it was close to $7,000 for that. But then we also had Army Sergeant who needed to make a car payment so she didn't lose her car. So she had small children.
I love that.
$100. It's anything, and then also even more recently, a Marine who had wrecked his Jeep and needed his Jeep to continue to work, and we were able to get him a grant to get his Jeep repaired. So it's whatever
amazing.
It needs to be, and that's what I want it to be. Just whatever you guys need. I just got to tell veterans because we hate doing paperwork. You got to do the paperwork. It sucks, but the IRS makes sure. And then I try to help and walk them through because I'm learning as I go to trying to figure out the IRS paperwork. But I'm under the Midlands Community Foundation here in Omaha, which is my umbrella. They're my advisors and they're my board. And to help out with 14th Hour.
No, it's a great thing, Kris. And how can people donate and support what you're doing? Where can they go?
You know what? Go to my website. I have a website, KrisTontoParonto.net, and it's with a K.
Okay.
My mom wanted to be a character builder, so she made it's Kristen. If you remember, it's really Christian, but I got called Kristen until I was probably 10. But it's KrisTontoParonto.net, and that's my website. And then you'll see a 14th Hour link. But I also have 14thhour.net. That you can and just search 14th Hour Foundation on Google and it'll pop up and you'll see the 14th Hour, and sometimes it'll link to 14thhour.nationbuilder.net, and that's just that, but that is the website, and you'll see my ugly mug. You click on it and you'll see my ugly, and the shirt says that I'm wearing says stand for the flag, and that's a sign you can donate there. But if veterans need grants or law enforcement or first responders, there's a just follow the instructions and we'll try to get you a grant.
Okay, Kris, thank you so much for being on Dr. Jane's DC. It's an honor. You're an American hero. Please promise me you'll come back. And speaking of your wife, tell her thanks for coordinating. She's a super manager. I love her.
And all you got to do is tell her I'll be on. Just bug her. Believe me.
You got a deal.
I'm not the boss.
Okay. I hear you.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thanks for everything, Kris. God bless you. Have a good night.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You too.
Hey guys, what an amazing night. Oh my God, 2 spectacular interviews, 2 great Americans. I am just beside myself. I could go out and party. But tomorrow night is second Tuesday of the month. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, please come out and see us at the Trump International Hotel, 1100 Pennsylvania Avenue in your nation's capital. Wow. Come back to Dr. Jane's D.C. on Wednesday. I have a nationally recognized foreign policy expert and energy expert and contributor to the Daily Caller, The Hill, Town Hall. I got to ask him to get me a little gig in there. Dan Perkins. Dan is great to talk to. He's got an amazing insights, and we'll have a second surprise guest. I hope you enjoyed tonight with Kris Paronto. I am so honored to have had him on the show. Thanks to him and his wife. I want you to stay on the network. You may have to get off and get back on, because you are in for a treat with none other than the founder, president, guru, and bestie of the Exceptional Conservative Network, Ken McClellan himself, who will be bringing you 2 hours of conservative talk and wonderful guests. And we love him dearly. And we are up on our hour here. So I am going to say goodnight and see you on Wednesday night. Thanks again for being with us tonight. This is Jane Ruby for Dr. Jane's DC. Have a good night. Stay safe.